Yay. Checking the lighting. We're good. No strange shadows. I just look like I have a glowing halo over my head. I'm going to go back to presentation mode. This particular short video is about your in-between sessions as you're teaching two 30-minute instructional sessions virtually, but between those 2 weeks of teaching, you will have a virtual feedback maintenance rapport building session that will occur between April 13th and April 17th. So here's what that's going to look like. We want to remember that during this time of online learning, all the things that we're hearing about what we need to be careful of, isolating ourselves, self-care, losing connections with humanity, all of those things that we're working through, or anytime students are utilizing just online learning or you're taking online classes, you can kind of lose touch pretty quickly with them and then get within yourself to a point where maybe you're not well, you're not productive, you're not emotionally feeling super stable. So that's why it's important that even though I'm not asking you to teach like back-to-back lessons 4 weeks in a row, because we still have a lot of content to cover otherwise, I think it's very important that we maintain the weekly virtual feedback or lesson or maintenance sessions, and that's why this is here. So here are the steps. Plan for and hold a 15 to 30 minute Google Meet session in between those two lessons, where you're going to say something like, hey, good to see you, checking in, how's it going, all that business, how's e-learning going, well, you remember how last time we worked on this, and you completed this for me, and then I asked you to do this, and you submitted it, and I've kind of been looking that over, and man, you did some things really, really well, which, let's see, EBPs that we will have covered by then will be acknowledgement, error correction, prompts and pre-correction. So there's some things you'll still be doing from the perspective of management within these sessions, as well as your actual teaching sessions. So you're going to do some of that chatter. And then if you find that there's something that the students need to do to review or in order to maintain what you taught them the week prior, since you're not going to have contact with them academically for another week, you might have a game for them to try to do online that you assign. Or you might say, hey, we could touch base if you wanted to, if you want to like turn in something extra to me to show me you're practicing every day. Or, hey, why don't you self-monitor and say, how many minutes a day am I going to read? And then you can bring it back when we meet again at the next session. Something like that helps them to review and maintain a connection to you and a connection to the content that you covered. Next, in this session, again, don't forget, intentional rapport building. You need to be very clear and direct without being inappropriate regarding the importance of this relationship to you and your progress in your program, how you're nearing the end of student teaching, or not student teaching, but the end of your undergrad program, and you're about to student teach, and how significant it's been for you to still have the opportunity to learn and grow, and for them to volunteer their time to do this, as well as it's important for them to know and understand that you recognize that this is a hard time for them, and you kind of want to be there to recognize that, yeah, like this has been tough, like this is not normal, so how's it going, that kind of thing. So context specific, developmentally appropriate, very intentional. There's nothing that you need to submit for this, as long as you actually scheduled this meeting formally within your Google Classroom calendar that you share with your student as well as with me. That's where I will check to make sure you scheduled it. And then, of course, my kids are going to rat everybody out if they're like, I haven't heard from so-and-so. So bonus points. Anyway, when you're looking at the final session like this, I think I'll just go ahead and put it in the same video. I'm going to go up and I'm going to go to the final feedback maintenance session. Going back to classwork. So here was one that's due April 17th. And then the very last day of classes before finals week, although all of it's just so weird. But on that final day of class, that is when it is due for you to, again, plan for and hold a 15 to 30-minute Google Meet session with your students. At that time, though, you're going to provide feedback regarding both instructional sessions that you had with them. So kind of an overview. We worked on this and it's very cool that we did this. And wasn't that cool? And here's what I'd like to see you work on in the future. And if you wanted to continue to do some review on some things, you could try this. I really think this would be a neat app or something for you to try. In this session, this final session, it will be different. It will feel different. I know I used big words for this, but I think they're meaningful. So in this session, the elements of a developmentally appropriate conclusion to a teacher-student relationship need to be addressed. So think end of the year kindergartner, and you teach kindergarten, and what's it like to say goodbye to them for the end of the school year versus what that looks like with a second grader. Now imagine a fourth grader at the end of the school year and the relationship you've had with them and how you conclude that formal relationship. Now think about a seventh grader or eighth grader. Boys versus girls. There's a difference in how they tend to respond to the conclusion of that type of relationship. And then think high schoolers. So when you're planning for this final session, it would be important for you to already be thinking ahead to the potential for, older kids are going to request continued contact. That's what they do. That's what we do. So what are your boundaries with that? They can absolutely be different across teachers in this. That's the way the real world is. I expect you to have similar differences in boundaries and parameters. So the important things to think about when you are selecting your boundaries and parameters appropriately, you just need to think of the age of the student and the type and length of the relationship you've had with them. Some of you already kind of know my kiddos a little bit more, so it wouldn't be unusual for them to say, hey, I'll see you when you come do this, whatever. Some of you are like, I don't know that I want to have a 6-year-old continue to contact me, or I don't know if I want a 16-year-old girl to continue to contact me. So I need to know if you have the judgment, the common sense to know how to set those parameters and boundaries, and that you're prepared to have those conversations with them during that final session. Again, if you question it, if you're not sure, you're not going to get in trouble, but you're going to ask me, or my kids are going to say something, and we're going to figure out, how you're going to handle that in the future. This is just really good practice. So again, nothing to submit for this specific session. That I'm clicking on the wrong thing. As long as Google Meet was formally scheduled within the Google Classroom calendar. We'll do some other final wrap-up pieces with this, but I don't need you to submit anything formally for that section. Yep, 2 in 1. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording this one, and now you have the information you need for both of your virtual feedback sessions.